If you enjoy getting away in the caravan, but don't like the hassle of pushing it on and off the drive and getting it hitched up, a caravan mover could be just what you're looking for. And if you have a few tools and the inclination to use them, fitting a caravan mover yourself will save you a load of money. Purple Line motor movers are really easy to install, and they come with everything you need for the DIY fit, right down to the last P-clip and piece of cable trunking. But if you're in any doubts as to whether you want to fit the mover yourself, this instructional video may help you make up your mind. The best way to go about the task is to give yourself enough time and have a clear plan of the steps involved. You should fit the mover with the caravan parked on a hard, flat surface, and it's a good thing to enlist the help of a mate if you can. Unpack the boxes and lay out and check the parts before you start. You can reference these with the parts list in the user manual, and you should also read and understand the safety guidelines. The fitting procedure can be broken down into 3 stages: fitting the mechanical hardware, installing the electronics, testing the functionality of the mover. Purple Line movers are designed to fit both Australian and European caravans, and usually adapter plates will need to be fitted to the more ruggedly built Australian caravan chassis, which is a pretty straightforward job. Essentially, the adapter plates allow the mover motor units and drive rollers to be positioned correctly to the tyre. They also provide the L-shaped profile that the mover will clamp to. Bolt holes will need to be measured out and drilled through the caravan box chassis, so the plates hang down, ready to accept the motor mover fitting clamps. The user manual shows the position and gives measurement for where the plates should be fixed. With the adapter plates fitted, you can fit and secure the motor assemblies. Start by loosely assembling the left and right motor units and crossbar assembly. Keep all bolts finger tight for now. When the motor units are bolted up tight, the disengaged drive rollers will need to be exactly 20 mm from the tyre. Square 20 mm spacers are supplied, and the fitting process will be easier if these are taped to the front of the rollers before the assembly is positioned. Slide the units under the caravan and position them at the right height. Wooden blocks or something similar will do. Loosely fit the 2 clamping plates to the chassis plate and attach using the bolts, nuts and washers. Again, these should only be finger tight at this stage. Now make sure the main crossbar and cross actuation centre bar are positioned in the middle of the caravan. The marker on the centre bar will help. Now it is all loosely fitted, slide the assembly towards the tyre until the 20 mm spacer is touching. It's really important to get the distance spot on, so check it carefully before you tighten any of the clamping bolts. When you're happy that all is correctly positioned, you can tighten the 4 clamp bolts and self-locking nuts. These will need to be tightened using a torque wrench at a setting of 40 foot-pounds. Check that 20 mm distance again before tightening the 2 pinch bolts and locking nuts, again to a torque setting of 40 foot-pounds. Finally, tighten the crossbar and cross actuation bar assembly bolts to a torque setting of 9 foot-pounds. Obviously, repeat the process if you're fitting a 4-wheel drive system. Now the main mechanical installation is complete, you can start on the electrical fit. Before you start, make sure the caravan battery is disconnected. The electronic control unit will need to be fitted in a suitable location in close proximity to the battery. An under-seat locker box is usually a favourite, where it can be mounted horizontally or vertically. Fix the control unit using the 4 screws supplied. If you're fitting a 4-wheel drive system, you should mount both control units fairly close to each other. Now you need to drill a hole through the floor for the control cables to pass through. It will need to be about 150 mm in front of the control unit, and you should check that the hole does not fall on top of any pipes or a chassis member. Now you can route the motor cables up through the floor and connect them to the control unit or units, in accordance with the user manual instructions. It's important to keep the motor cables all the same length, and the best way to do this is to bring them to the centre of the caravan before routing them to the control unit. Mark the cables for the motor units using the cable markers provided. Now you should run the cabling inside the cable trunking and back up through the floor. Then you can fix the trunking using P-clips and screws provided. Finally, with the cable ends passed through the hole, check that they're equal length and cut them. Then strip back about 5 mm of insulation and attach and crimp the spade connectors. Next, you're going to need to run the battery cables to the control unit. An isolation switch needs to be fitted in line on the positive connection cable, and usually the best place for this to be mounted is in the battery compartment. Again, use the nuts, bolts and connectors provided, and you should run the cabling inside the trunking for extra protection. Once you have fitted the isolator and cabling, you can connect the cables to the existing battery terminals, but make sure they are the right way round. Reverse polarity will damage the control unit. Now fit the spade connectors to the battery cables and connect to the control unit. Now the electrical installation is complete. With the mechanical and electrical installation finished, you can now test that the mover is operating correctly. But before you do this, you should read and understand the operation safety guidelines shown in the user manual. The way the mover rollers are engaged to caravan tyres differs on both Purple Line models. Both systems provide cross actuation, or a way to engage rollers on both sides at once from either side of the van. The Enduro has a spring-loaded lever mechanism that pushes the rollers onto the tyre, while the E-Go mover has a wind-on engagement system that can be operated with a cordless drill and the attachment supplied. The advantage of this system is it lets you adjust the pressure the roller applies to the tyre to give you optimum traction in all conditions. Now, let's look at how the system operates. With the rollers engaged on the tyres and the battery isolation key turned on, double-click the power button on the handset. You should hear a beep, which tells you all is ready to go. The controls are really easy. Push the button at the top of the handset and the van will be driven forwards. The one on the bottom makes it reverse. Top left moves it forward right. Top right button, forward left. Bottom left reverses the van right. Bottom right button reverses the van to the left. You can also do one other clever trick. Hold down top right and bottom left, or top left and bottom right buttons at the same time, and the caravan will perform a much tighter turn. Pretty neat, huh? That's it. You're now ready to fully enjoy your caravanning. You can get more information about Purple Line movers or any of their other caravan accessory products from the following contacts.